Dark Souls sucks, and today I'd like to share with you why I feel that way. What's up guys, Acerthorn here, and welcome to another video game discussion video. I do these analysis and discussion videos on a regular basis, so if you'd like to see more of them, hit that subscribe button to stay notified. Now before I get started, I want to produce a full disclaimer. I attempted a blind let's play of this game back when my channel was less than a year old. I ended the LP after only 13 episodes for two reasons. One of those reasons was because the game was chosen for a blind LP, not by me, but by my fans at the time. As one of my LPs was wrapping up, I held a poll asking everyone to vote for my next LP from a choice of 5 different games. Dark Souls Remastered won that poll, so I started that blind Let's Play series. Well, when I did the LP, it didn't get views. Now, as a YouTube content creator, I need views on my channel to survive. So, obviously, this was disappointing. This is made 10 times as disappointing when you take into account the fact that I chose this game to LP because it got the most votes in the poll. It's one thing to pass on watching a video that you're not interested in. It's quite another thing entirely to state outright, we are interested in this series, and then not actually watch the series when I make it. Now, aside from this opening section, I will not be discussing the Let's Play series' performance. I may be disappointed at how the fans outright lied to me, but that is not the game's fault. Instead, what I will be talking about today is something I can indeed blame on the game. The fact that the game just isn't fun. That being said, some of you might reasonably be asking, why are you even bringing this up if it isn't going to be a factor in your retrospective? Is it just a rant about how butthurt you are about the lack of views? Well, no, not really. It's to explain to you that I only really have 13 episodes worth of experience playing this game. And this lack of experience will likely be a factor in how I view certain elements of the game. Compare that to my retrospective on Fallout New Vegas. I wasn't enjoying that game very much, but at least it was getting views. So I soldiered on and finished the game for the sake of the channel, rather than for my own entertainment. So I was able to provide a retrospective up to and including the final leg of the main quest. However, despite having an incomplete experience with this game, I will not pull any punches in this retrospective. After all, if the game can't get me hooked into it after the first couple of hours, it doesn't deserve to keep my attention after that. I do not believe in continuing on with a game despite not having fun just because of some arbitrary expectation that I can't truly have an opinion on the game, a valid opinion at least, unless I've played the game for an arbitrary number of hours. If there is an arbitrary length of time I should be expected to play a game before I can have a legitimate opinion on the game, I'd probably go with 2 hours, since that's the maximum length of time I'm allowed to play the game before I can get a refund on Steam. For this reason, despite being aware that I am reviewing an incomplete playthrough, every criticism I make at the game today will come without the slightest hint of hyperbole. So with that out of the way, let's begin the retrospective proper. We begin the game in the tutorial dungeon, which is known as the Undead Asylum. Seeing this, we'll eventually learn that the vast majority of people in the main game are undead, or hollows as they are called in game. It seems rather awkward that there would be an asylum for them. Anyway, some random asshole drops a key into our cell so we can escape, and right off the bat, I noticed a huge problem in this game's design. Before I literally did anything else in the game, the first order of business is to just open the fucking door, and I couldn't figure out how to do that. Turns out, the HUD does indeed tell you how to open the door, except for one tiny problem. The HUD was disabled by default. Hey guys, Acerthorn here. I just wanted to issue a clarification before we continue. This is not a correction, this is a clarification, because I am still right about this. The footage you just saw and are about to continue to see is of me flailing against a stone wall, not the door. The reason for this is because when I was writing the script for this review, I was planning on using footage from the Let's Play for this retrospective. For the most part, I still am. However, when I actually went to use the footage, I remembered that in episode 1 of the Let's Play, I had actually cut out 99% of the footage of me struggling to open the door without any button prompt appearing on screen. Seeing as that took up about 20 minutes and nothing of note happened during that time. So I tried to work around this. I booted up the game and attempted to record some footage of me flailing around in front of the door, just like when I played the game for the first time. However, the button prompts still appeared on screen just like they were supposed to. So sadly, I do not have any visual proof that this exact problem actually happened. Of course, you don't just have to take my word for it. There is still some circumstantial evidence of this bug. If you go and watch episode 1 of the Let's Play, you can actually hear the sound effect of the start menu coming up, but the start menu doesn't actually appear on screen until after the jump cut. So as you can see, I do indeed encounter a bug where no visual prompts appeared on screen. So I still stand by the criticism I have levied and will continue to levy against this game. Alright, we're commencing retrospective in 3, 2, 1. Seriously, game? I heard that this game was punishingly difficult and threw you precisely 0 bones throughout the entire playthrough. However, I was also consistently told that the difficulty was extreme, but fair. It never pulled any kind of cheap tricks to artificially increase the difficulty. If you ever got stuck, it's because the game bested you, not because it tricked you. So all of these are shit! I never expected that Get Good applied to the game's basic controls, making me figure out on my own something as basic as how to display the HUD. How is that a fair challenge? So right off the bat, before I even get out of the first goddamn room, this game is already getting on my last damn nerve. So after I figure out how to open the door, I go through the asylum, killing other undead who apparently have also escaped from their cells. Then this happens. Alrighty. Ow! Okay, how exactly is that a fair challenge? There was literally 0.429 seconds from the moment this boulder appeared on screen to the moment it hit me. How was I supposed to dodge that? So anyway, I defeat the asylum demon, and that means my character has proven himself worthy of entering the main game. When we get there, we need some guy. Let's call him Ricky. He's the one who gives us the quest for the rest of the game. There's no celebration here. You do not matter to want to be undead. Well, isn't Ricky just a ray of sunshine? So basically, in order to complete the game, I need to journey to the undead church and then to a place called Blind Town and ring a pair of bells of awakening. And here is where we get to the biggest problem of the game. There's no real story to this game. The game is marketed as an RPG. Well, the story is the most important part of an RPG. It's like the jumping mechanics in a platformer or the gunplay in a first-person shooter. A bad story can kill an RPG, and a good story can bring an RPG with mediocre mechanics back from the dead. This is one of the biggest reasons why Fallout 76 was so poorly received, despite it not really being any buggier than the other half a dozen Bethesda games that came before it, because at least those games had great stories to compensate for their lack of mechanical function. So when I say that this game has no story, that's quite a serious charge against it. Now, people who suck this game's dick are probably typing away at their keyboards right now saying that the game does indeed have a story. It just does everything it can to hide it from the player. Well, first of all, if it goes out of its way to keep the story hidden from the player, then you really can't fault me for not noticing the story and getting wrapped up in it, can you? Second, no, it doesn't. It has a backstory, not a story. Those are not the same thing. A a backstory has already happened. It's what sets the stage for the current narrative and explains how the world and the characters got to the points they are currently at. It isn't a story because there's no storytelling in taking place. Backstories do not have any characters going on any journeys. No characters are seen struggling to achieve any goals, nor do they grow as characters in a backstory, and there certainly is no resolution to any plots. Compare this to some of the greatest RPGs of all time. Take Skyrim, for example. The backstory for that game includes the Oblivion Crisis, the eruption of Red Mountain, which forced the Dark Elves to integrate within Skyrim, the rise of the Mid Dynasty, the Great North Forsworn Uprising, and Ulfric's assassination/dueling of High King Torrig. But the actual story of Skyrim is dealing with the fallout of those things. The main story of Skyrim is the Civil War and the Return of the Dragons. That's where all the actual storytelling happens in that game. Dark Souls may have some world building that explains the origins of each of the various items I can acquire in the game. Characters I meet on my travels may have some really interesting backstories, none of which actually matter in the slightest to the conceit of your main quest. The player character has no reason to actually be invested in any of this. The player character has absolutely no backstory whatsoever. For all we know, he has spent his entire existence in this dinky little cell. Then he escapes from his prison and gets dropped into a world he doesn't know and is expected to risk his life saving. Now, at first glance, this sounds like an idea with some good potential to it. It really puts a new spin on the problem of ludonarrative dissonance. This world is just as foreign to the player character as it is to the player on a first playthrough. However, it never evolves beyond just having good potential. The developers don't really do anything with this unique concept, and more importantly, it ends up being counterproductive to providing any sort of context or motivation for the player to actually go out and save the day. In the vast majority of good RPGs, the game first goes out of its way to make the player understand why the main quest is so important. In Skyrim, after you escape from Helgen, you begin to acclimate to the lives of Skyrim locals, growing to care for a few of them. This means that the player is motivated to hunt down Alduin since he doesn't want Alduin to do to his new friends what he did to Helgen. In Dragon Age Origins, you began the game along with your family, giving much more weight to your duties as a Red Warden than if the game had just began at Ostagar, because you, the player, realized what you were leaving behind and who you were charged with protecting. In Super Mario RPG, about one-third of the way through the game, you were given a clear reason why you need to hunt down the star pieces in order to restore wishes to Mario's world. Fallout 4 is often criticized for completely botching this important part of RPG storytelling. Your mission in the main quest is to rescue your infant son and avenge the murder of your spouse. Two characters who the player, as opposed to the player character, barely know the first names of, let alone have grown to care for. Now, while I disagree that the game actually botches this section of the story, see my full retrospective on that game for more details. The fact that it is so criticized just goes to show how much RPG fans usually treasure this obligatory moment in their games. It provides essential context for your actions in the story. It shows that the player character has people who he cares about and who care about him. In Dark Souls, what's the context for the player's actions? Go ring a couple of church bells and say what happens. Nobody gives a rat's ass about you. Nobody even cares if you succeed, and you have no personal stake in the fate of this world. You're just expected to work your way through this gauntlet of enemies with no context whatsoever for an undefined reward at the end. Now, there are plenty of games out there where you are provided with minimal context, but where the level design alone provides a challenging, engaging, and rewarding experience. The Mario platformers are one example that come immediately to mind. However, in order for a game to succeed on those grounds, the gameplay, as opposed to the story, really needs to be at the top of its game. This is where Dark Souls is so commonly praised, not in its deep and emotionally driven story, but in its punishing difficulty. And it's also one where I feel the game falls rather flat. The whole appeal behind this game is its punishing yet fair difficulty. To achieve this, the game needs to have enemies whose attack patterns can be memorized. If the game constantly throws curveballs at the player for no other reason than to just keep things difficult, that's not a fair challenge. That's just the game developers constantly changing the rules of the game simply because, lol, you can't get good at the game if the game is constantly shifting as soon as you get into a groove. Well, try as I might, I was unable to ascertain any real attack patterns from these enemies. Now, maybe you could argue that this was just me not noticing the enemy attack patterns. But you know what other gameplay mechanic I found to be just as frustrating and which doesn't have that excuse? These damn rats. If I get hit by them, I suffer a poison effect. Now, on paper, this doesn't seem like too much of a problem. However, the poison effect from these rats lasts so long that I need about 5 or 6 Estus flasks in order to avoid dying before the effect wears off. I need these Estus flasks, since on a blind playthrough I have no way of knowing when I'll need them. So, anytime I take a single hit from these rats, it's honestly in my best interests to return to the bonfire to restore my health and refill my Estus flasks. This has the effect of the rats being the equivalent of a one-hit KO. While I would certainly expect that level of difficulty given Dark Souls' reputation, I would have expected that in the end game, not shortly after defeating the Taurus Demon, which is the first major boss in the game after the tutorial. But for a minute, let's accept the difficulty. That is, after all, a main marketing point of this game. However, one thing that makes this absolutely unbearable is that every time I return to the bonfire, all the enemies respawn except for the bosses and mid-bosses. This means that every time I take even a single hit from these rats, I have essentially made no progress towards the next bonfire. There was no sense of progression for me, no sense of achievement, because my achievements were always undone. In addition to there being no context for fighting these enemies, there's also no closure. It's just a repetitive slog. I literally just keep fighting the same enemies. The exact same enemies over and 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 over again. Hey, was that repetitive enough for you? Welcome to my world, you jackasses! So considering that I wasn't having any fun playing this boring, repetitive slog of a game, that means that once I realized that the series wasn't going to get views because my fans had basically lied to me, I stopped playing. I think on 2 occasions I made it all the way to the gargoyle boss fight, but I never beat them. And quite frankly, I don't even care anymore. In no small part because the lack of any real story meant I was never given a reason to care in the first place. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I believe that Dark Souls sucks. If there's anything you would like to say about how accurate my review is, you are free to post in the comments. I welcome discussion and even disagreement, as long as you were civil about it. But until then, I bid you all adieu. Acer Thorn out. Peace.